This is the 990 and this is the 2020. Both mics are really good budget options. The 990 sells for around about £79 and the 2020 £89, so they're roughly in the same kind of price bracket. The MXL 990 response goes from 30 Hz up to 20 kHz, but the 2020 goes a little bit deeper from 20 to 20 kHz, but that low end isn't really that useful for speech, in all honesty. If you're thinking of using these mics for music, the MXL doesn't take quite as loud a sound. It will only take around about, I say only, but it's loud, 130 dBA, whereas the 2020 goes up to 144, I think it is. Let's have a look. Yep, it's 144, so that's deafening, absolutely deafening. The AT2020 has a self noise of minus 74 dB. That's a little bit on the borderline between hearing a little bit too much noise, so you may want to either mic very closely or use noise reduction. For most music purposes, that's not too significant. It's not going to be too bad. You can put it right close up against the cabinet and you're not going to notice it. But for speech, might be different. The noise figure for the MXL 990 is slightly confusing because they publish minus 80 dB, which is a really excellent figure for such a cheap microphone. That's what attracted me to it in the first place. But when you read the specs, then it says self noise minus 20 dBA. Well, minus 20 dBA actually works out to minus 74 dB. So I'm not quite sure what that noise is. I suspect it's on a level with the 2020, in all honesty. There is also a heritage edition of this microphone, the 990, but I'm not quite sure what the differences are because there aren't any specs around for it. I suspect it might be the same microphone. This is the sound of the Technica AT2020. This one is nice. It's black. It comes in a plastic case, and of course it comes with a shock mount and all the bits and pieces inside the plastic case. Not quite as posh a case as the MXL, but this is the basic sound that you're going to get from an AT2020. A lot of people do like the sound of the AT2020, but one thing you see all over the internet is that the AT2020 has quite a lot of self noise. With the figure of minus 74 dB, I'm really not surprised. But you can easily get rid of things like that because all you've got to do is use a little bit of noise reduction. So in fact, if I use this microphone, I might take it onto my editor and just reduce the noise by about 6 dB or so it gets up to about 80, and that doesn't impact too much on the sound of your microphone. So that's the sound of the AT2020 from the front. This is the AT2020 from the side. This is the 2020 from the rear, back to the side, and we're back to the front again. This is the sound of the MXL 990. Many people like the sound of this microphone as well. So you've got fans of the MXL and the 2020. As far as self noise goes, as I said earlier, I think probably they're pretty similar. But this one comes with a particularly nice case, more solid, and a very nice shock mount. And also, this is just a small point, but the fitting on the bottom has a little lip, so that the insert that allows you to screw things in, you know, like the 3/8 inch screws, it's got a little lip on it so it won't go inside, which is rather a nice touch. I wish they all did that actually. The only other thing I don't like about the MXL is the fact that it's champagne coloured. Maybe it's trying to emulate another microphone that's a lot more expensive, but the champagne colour for me is if you want to do theatre stuff or like that, this is going to show up, whereas the 2020 wouldn't show up. But if you're in a studio, no one will worry about it. So that's the sound of the MXL from the front. This is the MXL from the side. This is the MXL from the rear, back to the side, and that's the front again. Size wise, you can see that the MXL is fatter looking than the Technica, which has a smaller profile. But they're pretty much in the same price bracket and probably pretty much the same kind of sound. Now while I'm talking, I'm just going to stop to give you an idea of what the self noise is like on this and this one, just to compare, because this one's got a very confusing figure. So this is the self noise of the MXL 990. Take this with a pinch of salt though, because it all depends on your gear. I've also got a ticking clock in the background. Without moving the volume control, this is the self noise of the AT2020. Again with the ticking of a clock. Just to show you the differences between these mounting things, this is the standard sort of thing that you get. It's a little barrel that converts a small thread into a slightly larger thread for you to put it on. You can see it just goes in. Sometimes they're a bit too deep and these things go in too far, and then getting them out can be a problem. Sometimes they have a screw thread on them like this one, have a screwdriver grip on them so you can get them out that way. Some of them don't, and they can be a pig to get out, or they have to stay in. This one is the one that comes with an MXL, and if you look at it closely you can see there's a lip on the end there, so it can't go any further than that lip, which is rather nice, so you won't lose it. And also it's got a screw thing on the top as well, so that's a rather nifty thing. So for anyone that's considering a budget studio microphone, both of these are nice options. It's just a question of which one do you prefer the sound of, which one has maybe the best rejection. I'm in a box room here, so the one with the best rejection would probably show. I suspect they're pretty similar. And also how much noise does each one create, because getting rid of that self noise in post does create a bit of extra work for you. So it's just a question of what do you prefer the sound of, and are you prepared to do any work to get rid of that noise if it proves to be a problem. In fact, it's not a massive problem, but I'm very sort of pernickety about noise on microphones, so I always do my best just to help you. If you want to get rid of noise, what I do is I go onto an editing suite. I reduce the noise by about 6 dB, just a smallish amount, not too much, so it doesn't impact on speech. Then what I do is I get a noise gate, and I have a noise gate. What that does is it lets sound through, but as soon as you stop speaking, it closes down, so no sound goes through. But I don't close it down to infinity. What I do is I close it down to either -6 or -12, depending on how it sounds. And I set it just at the level of the ambient noise around me. And also, actually, I can take my breaths down in volume by doing that. I take it down by 6 or 12 dB. And what that does is it gives you it lets you set your voice through, and as soon as you stop speaking, the noise gate just shuts down a little bit, so it reduces the noise level down by 6. It's already down 6 dB on the editor, but by using noise gate it can go down another 6 dB or another 12 dB, which gives you 18 dB of noise reduction in effect, because when you're speaking you don't tend to hear the noise. It's when you're not speaking that you do. But the use of a very slight noise reduction, a slight noise gate, not a noise gate that takes it down to infinity, makes an awful lot of difference with your audio, and it's quick to do. Hope this was useful to you, and I hope to see you next time. Cheers for now.